Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today I need you to use your imagination a little bit. Imagine it's 2002. Daniel Bedingfield's number one. Manchester United are good at football. Like I said, you'll need to use your imagination. You've got a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom detached mock Tudor house, and you just had a conservatory built. And life's going pretty good. You've got a couple of kids, you've got an orange wife because fake tan's all the rage, and you've got, crucially, £40,000 to spend on a new car. And it's got to be better than your neighbour's Freelander V6 that you just bought. So what do you buy? Well, the answer's an easy one. You go down to your local Mercedes dealer and spend £38,500 on a Mercedes ML320. That's what everybody seemed to do in 2002. This generation ML was the king of the suburbs. Anybody who was doing well for themselves, or more importantly, anybody who wanted people to think they were doing well for themselves, had an ML. Motoring journalists at the time didn't rate the ML at all. It was built in Alabama rather than Germany, and it generally didn't get good reviews. So the fact that it was made in Alabama by people who I imagine look like extras out of My Name is Earl, I don't think that should put you off, because they're actually a pretty good car. So today I'm in a 2002 ML320, and this one uses a 3.2 litre petrol V6 that Mercedes have used in all kinds of cars for years and years. The phrase bulletproof is overused these days, but there's no better word to describe this engine. It's train driven so there are no belts to snap, and the service intervals were quite long. I've had friends with ML320s that have done over 200,000 miles with no issues. The V6 sounds nice too, and it produces 220 horsepower, so it feels quite nippy. The ML's been around since 1998, and then in 2002 they facelifted it, so they integrated the indicators into the wing mirrors, and it just improved the look of the thing. A couple of weeks ago I did a video with an E53 BMW X5, and I gushed about how it deserved a place in history because it was the first sporty SUV. Now, at the risk of repeating myself, I think the ML deserves to sit side by side with that. Maybe on a pedestal slightly below the X5, but still, it's up there. I should admit that I'm a fan of this generation ML. I had friends with them. My dad had one that I'd borrowed when I was 18. My dad's friends had them. I just like them. And jumping back into this, it's like putting on a comfortable pair of shoes. I could point out some of the horrendous panel gaps, or the flimsy feeling bonnet, or the shiny plastics on the interior, but I shan't dwell on that too much. Let's be realistic, it's 2019, there aren't many people who'd consider running a 17-year-old Mercedes ML, only weirdos like me. So I've been using this ML for a few days, partly for nostalgia reasons because it's been years since I've been in one, but partly just because of how well it drives. As I say, it's 17 years old, and it just does everything I ask it to. You get a superb driving position, visibility is excellent, you've got these comfortable leather seats, a nice sounding V6. Really, for a couple of grand, and that's what you can pick these MLs up for a couple of grand, you really can't beat them. This particular ML is a big spec. Back in 2002 it must have been the talk of the suburbs. I've got factory fitted front and rear park distance control, I've got heated seats, I've got a space here where you would put your electric garage door opener. Just got every extra you would need. I've even got a cassette player. Although they were built by people who probably wear vests and drive F-150 pickup trucks, they were surprisingly well built, or reliable at least. My dad had one for a while, never had any issues. My mate had one for a while, never had any issues. I've had other mates who've had them with over 200,000 miles on and never had any issues. I've driven one of these all the way from Manchester down to Spain, never had any issues. So yeah, surprisingly well made. Perhaps not well finished, but fundamentally well built. So engine choices, the early ones came with either a 3.2 litre petrol V6, a 4.3 litre petrol V8, then that was later replaced with the ML500, which got a 5 litre V8. They also did an ML55 AMG, which used a 5.4 litre V8 petrol, and it was sort of like the Range Rover SVR of its time. Here in the UK, we were only offered one diesel, which was a 2.7 litre 5-cylinder, which sounded like, well, you know when you're walking through a town centre and somebody rattles one of those charity boxes full of change? That's what the diesel sounded like. It was an appalling sounding engine. They also used it in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. In mainland Europe, they were offered two diesels, the ML270, which we got here, which was rattly and noisy. But they were also offered a ML400, which used a 4 litre V8 diesel. Now for some reason that was never offered in right-hand drive. In my opinion, again it's only my opinion, but I would go for the 3.2 litre petrol. It's the best all-rounder. It's not great on fuel. You'll average 18 miles per gallon around town and maybe 26, 28 on a run. So it's a little bit thirsty than the diesels, but it's more reliable and more refined. And the thing that most people forget is if you've only paid a couple of grand for a car and it's a little bit thirstier than you first thought, so what? You can't have everything. This generation M5, I wish. This generation ML also scored a 4-star Euro NCAP safety rating, which at the time was pretty unrivaled. In terms of what it's like to drive, it does feel its age. As pleasant as it is, it feels a little bit floaty. The suspension is quite crashy actually, although this one's done 120,000 miles, so it might be slightly worn out, but it does feel a little bit crashy when you go over bumps. The steering's sloppy and vague at best. There's plenty of body roll too. But let's be real, no one's going to buy one of these and thrash it. They're just going to potter around in it, aren't they? As I'm doing today. I quite like the interior. I know some of the plastics are a little bit cheap to look at, but again, this is 17 years old and nothing's fallen off. Everything's still complete and everything still works. So perhaps Hank and Chuck screwed it together pretty well in the first place. They also offered this as a 7-seater. So they did an option called a family pack, and that came with 2 rear seats in the back. You could also get it with the spare wheel carrier bolted onto the back too, on the early ones. Hardly anybody did that, to be honest, but it's quite an unusual sight these days. I quite like the exterior styling too. I know it's an old design now, so it's hardly cutting edge. But we're in an era now where everything's too over-designed and over-styled. Everything's got fake vents and fake grills and fake exhausts and chrome everywhere. Lots of fiddly, fussy design features. This doesn't. It's just simple. And I quite like that. I quite like how subtle and understated it is. It's still got some class to it. The main issue here in Britain, at least, is rust. Not just on the ML actually, but any Mercedes of this era. Most of them, if you have a look on the internet, most of them will have rotten wheel arches, rotten sills, rusty tailgates, and it was just a common issue. This one doesn't, and I imagine it's either been garaged or at some point it's been painted, because it's in excellent condition for a 17-year-old car. Also, the alloy wheels, the lacquer on the alloys always peels and they always just flake off and they always look a mess. Again, this one hasn't, but most MLs of this period have. If you're looking to buy one, make sure all the electrics work. Make sure the windows work, make sure all the doors lock and unlock, because that was quite a common issue at the time. You just get the impression that they're strong and built to last. If you can find one with service records like this one, that's been serviced every year or every 8 or 10,000 miles, you just get the impression it'll last forever. A lot of you might not want to buy such an old car, which is fair enough, but if you're on a tight budget and you've only got a couple of grand to spend, you'll get a decent ML320, and I really can't think of a better luxurious family car to buy for the money. It'll cost you half the price of an old X5, and I think it'll be more reliable too. So thanks once again for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. I'm now at 16,000 subscribers, which is unreal, so thanks very much. If you've got any questions, leave them below in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you've had any experience with MLs actually, just let me know in the box below. A box? Is it a box? I don't know. Just let me know below in the comments. So cheers guys, I'll see you around.